Since the code red that Sam Altman issued last week, our newsroom has been feverishly talking to sources inside the company to understand how things have been changing on the ground. And through all their reporting, one name has come up time and time again, and that is Nick Turley, who heads up product for ChatGPT. Here to tell us more about why Turley has become such a central figure at OpenAI's business these days, I want to bring on Sri Muppidi, who co-authored a great profile of him over the weekend. Sri, welcome to the show. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Great to be here.
So, sounds like you had a busy weekend talking to folks at OpenAI. Tell us about who Nick Turley is.
Of course. So Nick Turley is the head of ChatGPT for OpenAI, and that is a huge responsibility for a company that has 800 million plus users. Nick Turley's main role is to support the growth of ChatGPT along with any other types of business models that support that growth as well. For example, exploring ads as an opportunity, but it also includes making sure that you have enough GPUs, for example, to be able to service ChatGPT as well. He actually has been at the company for since the start of 2020 or since 2021, before even ChatGPT even launched. So he was one of the main folks involved with launching ChatGPT from the beginning and has seen that growth of that product over the last couple of years.
So it's not that he's only involved in sort of the front end design and the product side of ChatGPT. He's also involved end to end in making sure that the thing has enough compute to operate. I mean, it's very much a comprehensive role.
Yes, exactly. I think he began as like an IC product manager, which means that you're specifically involved with like building the product itself. But then
Right.
over the years, his responsibilities has increased. So he had more control in terms of hiring people and delegating responsibilities. And then this year, he was promoted to the head of ChatGPT role, which
Hmm.
is more of a cross-functional role to be able to ensure that one product is going as well as it could be, but also ensuring that he has the necessary resources for ChatGPT to succeed.
And so, talk to me about how his role has changed now in the last week, given that we are amidst this code red at OpenAI. Why has he become such a more important figure? Is he kind of quarterbacking things?
I'd say that Nick's role has really been something that has been solidified over the last year or so. I think more so Code Red just emphasizes that ChatGPT is such a pivotal, important part of OpenAI's growth. For example, having 800 million plus and being able to continue that growth to be able to hit 2.6 billion weekly active users by 2030 is a really intense goal, but to have someone to be able to look to. For
Hmm.
example, Nick apparently has weekly top of mind Slack messages that he shares with folks on their priorities. He writes these memos for people to understand the strategy and gets really involved with like working with folks day to day across different types of the org.
Right.
I think that why Nick is sort of being put to the front now is just because of his role as the head of ChatGPT to make sure that ChatGPT is able to continue to grow more than ever across the different conversations that we've had. One of the things that came up is that OpenAI is always in an urgent mode and always is working towards things. And so some folks, for example, have described it as like this last week being no different from weeks prior.
Right.
And so they didn't really actually agree with the code red part. But I think that Sam's memo really emphasized that there is truly a code red. So I think there's a different perspectives there.
Now, you talked to him. You had an interview with him a couple days ago. What did you learn from that conversation?
Yes, exactly. So it was great to talk to Nick in terms of understanding his priorities. So one of the key things about making ChatGPT to continue to grow is Nick's vision of being able to have it be a super assistant for people, where he described it as almost giving them superpowers to do things that they weren't able to do. For example, coding if you aren't able to code, or getting medical advice if you weren't able to visit a doctor. And I think that super assistant vision really fits into sort of his other priorities of making one, the product very personalized to you. So that means that as you use the product more, it understands you more and can provide, for example, the things that Shri specifically needs. The second is to have the context of ChatGPT. That means like connecting it to different apps and things that is important to you. So, for example, my Slack messages or my photos, if I needed like pull up different types of photos of my dog, for example.
Right.
And the third is to actually take action on behalf of the user. And so this is building upon like the search functionality. And Nick was actually one of the key folks that we found out of leading Search GPT, which is the search features that is incorporated into ChatGPT to make sure that the
Hmm.
model is all up to date.
So let me ask you this: you had this conversation with him, and you certainly spoke with. I think you and our colleagues spoke with 20 people who have either worked with Nick in the past or are currently working with him through the course of your reporting. From that conversation, from all your reporting, did you walk away thinking that, I mean, Nick's got it under control. I mean, they're going to figure this out. OpenAI, they have this lead. The code red is about the lead sort of narrowing, but this is to sort of see if they can widen it. Did you leave away with a sense of confidence, or did you leave the conversation thinking, you know what, I think the balls are in the air right now. I mean, we still need to see if how this plays out.
I think that AI is moving so quickly that you really don't know who's going to stay in the lead. I think it's just going to be really exciting to see OpenAI and Google and others be able to compete and move ahead quickly. I think one of the areas of feedback that like folks had given Nick in terms of our conversations was that at times that he isn't as technically rooted in some of the specific research problems that researchers were working on. And so I think as research continues to increase and rapidly improve, I'm curious to see sort of how he's able to adapt to that and be able to incorporate it. So far, he's been able to do a great job of it so far in terms of actually turning ChatGPT into a product that folks are using based on GPT-3 research. But I think that there's still sort of opportunity for the company to continue iterating. So I am curious to see. I think there's a lot of questions still that I'd love to have answered. For example, how will you be able to pull off the super assistant vision? And with all the sort of other priorities that OpenAI has, I know Sam has sort of tried to focus everyone to focus on ChatGPT, but I know, for
Right,
example,
right.
efforts, for example, to focus on advertising in some ways as well. So it'll be an exciting time for sure.
It's a big job. So we appreciate you bringing Nick Turley to our attention and coming on the show and talking about him. Thank you so much. We will get back to you later this week, as I'm sure there'll be more news to uncover. That is Sri Muppidi, who covers all things OpenAI and Anthropic here at The Information.